From Carolla One Studios in Glendale, California, this is the Adam Carolla Show. Adam's guest today, the author of Talking to Goats, legendary sportscaster Jim Gray. With Gina Grant on news and Bald Brian on sound effects. And now, President-elect Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. No choice but to get a mandate. You get it on now. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing. The ratings went up last week, so I appreciate you guys turning people onto the show. Good day, Gina Grant.
Good day to you.
Handball, Brian.
Have a great Friday, you motherfucker.
So I woke up this morning and I turned on the computer and I saw that Jeffrey Toobin was trending. And I was looking at the bylines and the headlines, and I had a couple thoughts. So he got fired for, well, let's do the article first, and then we'll go back. I have a reenactment for you guys. I have some interesting analysis for you guys, and possibly a joke. But you got the article there, Max Zapata, or is Dawson going to read it?
Yeah, this is from the Associated Press.
The New Yorker has fired longtime staff writer Jeffrey Toobin after he reportedly exposed himself during a Zoom conference last month. He had already been on suspension and is also on leave from CNN, where he is chief legal analyst. Quote, I was fired today by New Yorker after 27 years as a staff writer. I will always love the magazine, will miss my colleagues, and will look forward to reading their work, he tweeted on Wednesday. In a company memo, Condé Nast chief people officer Stan Duncan wrote that its investigation regarding Jeffrey Toobin is complete, and as a result, he is no longer affiliated with our company. I want to assure everyone that we take workplace...
All right, everyone takes everything seriously. Yes. You know, I have a zero tolerance for guys beating off on Zoom. That's my policy. But the thing that was funny, I was hearkening back. So what was on my screen when I woke up this morning, or I was looking on Twitter, it said, for masturbating. And we were talking about it, and Gina was saying exposed. And I was saying, I think it was masturbating. And then we got in this, well, I heard exposed, or that's what they said. And then I started realizing, well, if he was masturbating, which is much different than exposed on a Zoom call. Like, I would imagine if you exposed yourself, that wouldn't be grounds for dismissal necessarily. It would depend on what the situation was. If you're in your bathrobe and your bathrobe came open or whatever it was, or maybe you just had your shirt on and you didn't think the thing was tilted down low enough to see your groin. But masturbation, that's a little bit of a different animal. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking, well, why is it that I kept hearing exposed and from some outlets and then masturbation from others? But a couple things. Mark Garagos said, we should talk about this unreasonable doubt. And I wrote him back about Jeffrey Toobin. I said, once you get caught beating off on Zoom, you got to just start going by Jeff. That's not a Jeffrey type move. That's a
Jeffrey activity.
That's so Jeff.
That's a Jeff move. Like you, as a matter of fact, your name, we should be able to downgrade you. Like Charles Manson should have never been called Charles. It's too
he's Chaz at best.
At best. And Toobin, I know you go by Jeffrey, but we should have 18 months of just being able to call you Jeff, because I feel
or just Toobin, which is pretty phallic.
So I was looking at. I said, well, why are all these different? So I will give you the headlines on the right-leaning news outlets, like Fox News says CNN's Jeffrey Toobin fired by New Yorker magazine following Zoom call masturbation incident. So that's Fox. New York Post, which is on the right. The New Yorker fires Jeffrey Toobin after probe into Zoom masturbation scandal. So we got 2 of those cooking for ourselves. The let's see, I'm looking for another one here that fits. We have one. The Daily Mail. Jeffrey Toobin is fired from the New Yorker, Republican, right? Daily Mail, right-leaning, is fired from the New Yorker weeks after being caught masturbating on Zoom call. But then if you go to the other side of the aisle...
What does HuffPo have to say? He was wrongly accused?
After introspective moment, a man is fired from job.
Jeffrey Toobin fired for trying to fix the wing of a butterfly.
They're afraid of pants.
New York Times says Jeffrey Toobin fired by New Yorker. CNN says Jeffrey Toobin fired from New Yorker after exposing himself on a Zoom call. CBS says same thing, exposure incident. So all the folks... Washington Post, left-leaning, says Jeffrey Toobin fired by New Yorker magazine after indecent exposure investigation. Well, they put indecent in there at least. So this is the thing with news now. So if you get your news from CNN or the New York Times or USA Today didn't say anything about masturbation, or LA Times, if you just get your news from them, then you'll be confused, at least in this incident, because it's just exposure versus checking the alternative stuff, which would then let you know that he was masturbating on this Zoom call. But I thought about it's a very interesting. It sounds like a weird place to make an example, but this is the example of where we're living right now. It's masturbation versus exposed, right? If it's on the left, it's exposed. If it's on the right, it's masturbation. It's the same story. We're just getting a slightly, what you would do if you liked him versus what you would do if you didn't like him. Although in this case, the folks who don't like him are more accurate because he was masturbating on a Zoom call. But I thought we could do a reenactment.
Who gets to be Toobin?
I get
on
to
the
be
Zoom call?
I do.
Oh.
I get to be Toobin.
Is the boss, Gina.
That's right.
you two are a Mormon couple.
Oh, okay.
And
Sure.
we're contemporaries. We're the same age. And you're an old family friend of the Toobins. And it's not like we hang out, but, back in the day, you're family friends. And Jeffrey Toobin, I'm going to a airport. I'm at the airport, and I'm catching a flight to Alaska to just kind of chill my heels and by the way, have some room to spread out my thighs a little, get back to my first love with,
do what you're best at.
I like Alaska because it's dark 24 hours a day there, which is great. They don't talk, they talk about salmon and they talk about Kodiak bears, but they don't talk about beat-off travel. You know what I mean? Like tourism, that beat-off tourism. You know what I mean? Oh,
Sure.
You hear about all the highfalutin sex tourism, like going to the Netherlands or going to Thailand or something like that. But what about the guy who loves beating off and also wants to travel?
He's talking to his beat-off buddies. I'm going to the North Pole. Oh, you lucky dog.
Yeah, we got to watch that Al Pacino movie to figure out exactly what month it is.
Insomnia.
So you go there, you get 24 hours of darkness, and the beat-off production is through the roof. You know what I mean? Because when that sun is just streaming through that paper-thin shade in the morning, and
How are you supposed to get anything done?
Yeah.
you roll over, you see the picture of your son on the nightstand. I don't know why you have to travel with it, but it's there. All right.
No good.
So I'm going to Alaska where it's dark and I can get some beat off time in. Also, I want to get out of the public eye. You guys were just fostering some mission stuff over in Mozambique,
Sure.
Oh, sure,
and you were in a village, you didn't have electricity, You didn't know
No
what
internet.
You couldn't travel because of the COVID thing. You've been trapped there for 9 months. You haven't heard anything about this story.
Right.
And as it turns out, we just we meet each other and then we run into each other in the airport. I think you guys are going to have to see me because I'm probably wearing a ball cap and trying to.
You're probably not hailing old friends.
Right.
Hey!
Right. All right. So here we go. I'm walking through the airport.
All right, we're walking from our flight. Oh, it's a long flight from Mozambique. I can't believe they fly direct.
Carl, is that Jeffrey?
Oh, it's Jeff.
No, remember Jeffrey from the picnics.
Oh man, he's doing so well for himself. Let's go.
Oh, goodness, what a gift we were given to see him, the first person back from Mozambique. Excuse me, is Jeffrey?
Yeah. I mean, no. Oh. Bernadette
and Carl.
And Carl. Yeah.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
How are you, buddy?
Just, come see, come saw.
Boy, I tell you, if we just the guy to run into. We have been unplugged for months in a village in, of all places, can you believe it, Mozambique. I don't know what's going on, and we run into the news guy.
Oh, you are a sight for sore eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, I got to tell you, I'm a little bit down these days. I don't want to lay too much on you.
Dear.
Coronavirus got you down.
Yeah, we've heard about that.
I can only imagine what it's like. out here.
I had a little dust up at work, and we kind of decided to part ways. And
editorial kind of thing. You wanted to, say, speak your mind on the president or something, and they kind of wouldn't let you.
Whose name goes in the byline?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I've always had editorial freedom over there, but no, it wasn't really.
Oh my gosh!
It's a great job.
I hear with the coronavirus, they're cracking down on people putting personal effects and knickknacks on their desk. Did you have a dust up about the cactuses? I remember you collected those cactuses.
Well, it was
cacti.
I didn't burn it. That's silly.
Stupid cunt.
Yeah,
Oh, God.
They it was something they saw, during a Zoom call, but it wasn't a salt shaker shaped like a cactus. If that's
Something else on your desk.
Them. Yeah.
on my desk.
Were you looking at some Fox News stuff? I assume that it was, probably verboten over there to look at Fox News. Maybe on the
Too
browser
personal.
or something.
No, I watch Tucker every night just to kind of monitor it. They know that
sure.
it wasn't so much political. No.
Well, gosh, Jeffrey. I mean, we're what happened? We're so sorry to hear it. And I get it. So they're sending you on an investigative. What do you call it? A report, an investigative report to the Yukon territory.
Yeah. No, I'm just going there to get a little R&R.
Oh yeah, well, post-election, you got to relax, man. I heard the election results went on for days. You were probably up for you probably got 1 hour sleep, on the air like that, analyzing the results.
Oh yeah, I was up all right.
Oh boy, we
God
bad
knows I
guys.
was
Imagine
up.
how hard that was.
Oh, I was up. I was good and up. Yeah. Yeah.
You seem hungry, Jeffrey. I have some snacks. Do you need anything? I have jerky. I have yogurt.
Yeah.
It was actually gazelle jerky from Mozambique.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah.
Girthy.
Yeah, I'm having trouble eating. I love my job over there at the New Yorker magazine and CNN and all that for all those years. So many years over there.
Oh my God, I got a whole bunch of articles ready to go saved from what I missed when I was in Mozambique.
Yeah, I won't be working for either one of those entities anymore. So I'm a little.
Did something? I don't mean to be indelicate. Did something go wrong?
Well, we were doing a Zoom call, and
We've done
That's
those.
right, Zoom.
Yeah.
yeah, and the thing about Zoom is you're really inviting every one of your colleagues you're on the Zoom call with into your personal space,
I can imagine how intimate it is. I mean, here you all are just, looking at each other in, bathrobes, perhaps.
Yeah.
Oh, Carl.
Oh, I know. I didn't mean to be racy. I'm sorry. That's a little.
Okay, Carl. Okay, we don't want to embarrass Jeffrey. Okay.
Yeah, I wish it was a
With
bathrobe.
the racy talk.
Yeah, it'd be nice if it was a bathrobe.
I'm sorry, what?
I was saying it'd be nice if it was just a bathrobe. I think.
Jeffrey, were you wearing a lady's nightgown?
Was there a wardrobe malfunction?
No, the gym shorts came down by themselves. I mean, with a little help from me, I should say.
Oh, dear. You know, Jeffrey, we've heard about in Mozambique one time, Carl was sitting at the table and got a whole mess of Carpenter Ants that got in a hole in his pocket. He had to rip his shorts down and run outside. Oh, I hope that didn't happen to you.
Yeah, well, that some of that happened to me.
I thought that only
I was
happened
the
in
only one
Mozambique.
wearing clothes, so it wasn't odd. I mean, I just sort of joined the group.
I did have to rip my shorts off. Yeah.
Oh, Jeffrey.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure
Yeah,
your
I hope-
employer understands if it's an emergency situation.
Sure, and I hope you sought medical attention quickly.
Well, I wasn't. It was more of a self-inflicted wound. Little less Carpenter Ants and little more at my own hands. Or I should say hand, singular.
Carl,
you hurt your hand?
Carl, I think he's a cutter. Remember Susie's stepdaughter?
Yeah, we saw that.
Remember, like her
Yeah,
stepdaughter.
yeah.
I think he's a cutter.
Yeah, I can hear you
dear.
whispering. I can hear you whispering.
Yeah, he was only
Yeah.
a foot
Well,
and a half
anyway, are you a
away.
cutter? Are you a cutter, Jeffrey?
No, I'm a little more of a stroker, I think you would call it.
Not heard of that malady. What happens? How does that work?
Show us.
You know, you have websites that you really love. You really love certain websites.
Hello, Pinterest, guilty as charged.
Right.
Search of LDS.org.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, and I love Bring a Trailer a lot, but there's other websites I enjoy too. And during this whole COVID thing, it can be so lonely.
Oh, so like a meetup site, like a
Right.
a networking, kind of like LinkedIn.
Yeah, like who wants to learn how to do sourdough starter together?
How do you spell meat?
The normal way. Were you mentoring someone? You're a good guy, Jeffrey.
Yeah, I got a little fella that I like to impart wisdom to, that I like to keep kind of close to me. So there's
that's
an
nice.
element
That
of
is
that.
so nice.
Yeah.
I was,
I'm so glad you held on to those values, Jeffrey.
yeah, I'm really sorry.
Hold on to him tight.
Yeah, really grip them hard.
Yeah, grab on, don't let go.
Don't let go.
Yeah, I'm really sorry I got to the airport so early.
I was gonna say, flight to Alaska is leaving soon.
You never know with the weather over there. I just want to play
Jeffrey,
it
we
safe.
got plenty of time. It's just so great to see you. And I'm sorry, you were saying?
I was saying that, I'm not as strong as you guys are. I don't have the religious base, you guys. That how they say the devil makes work for idle hands?
Oh,
Yeah, can't let those
don't we
hands
know
stand
it?
still.
That's
Well,
why we're in Mozambique.
In
That's
this
right.
particular case, I think it would be the devil makes work for idle hand.
Oh. Well, I suppose that's a phrase I've not heard.
I was
Jeffrey,
yeah.
did you give someone the finger?
Oh.
Oh, no.
Bernadette, please.
Oh, dear.
I
please
gave
please don't say yes.
I gave myself the 5-finger discount.
Is that something the kids are saying these days?
Is that like give me,
Sorry,
you
Jeffrey.
high-fived yourself?
I
know
was
you got
I was
news-
stroking my
news.
pud.
Oh, how is your pug?
Yeah, I was going to say the little smushed face and the snorting.
No,
oh, she's
adorable.
still alive.
I don't let Raffles in the room when I'm zooming. That would be inappropriate.
You're
Oh, I
stroking
see.
it behind the ears. Just, yeah, get in there.
Oh,
no, I-
she loves that.
I said stroking my. I said I said pud.
Did you say pod? You're doing a podcast? I got to tune in. We had a 15-hour flight from fucking
We've heard
Mozambique.
about those. Those are fun. They're
No,
not sound starter.
Sorry, I was. God, I don't know how you guys talk. I was beating my meat.
Oh, so you were zooming from the kitchen?
Yeah, I thought that you were
I have a
doing-
tenderizer. You don't need to use your hand. They sell them
Yeah.
cheap on Amazon.
Yeah, the mallet thing's really
I don't know
Yeah,
why I
you
keep
just pound
going.
it. You can do textured or flat.
I don't know why I keep going down this road, but I was choking my chicken.
Oh,
He
look,
loves cooking.
We don't judge, and if you're cleaning it too, then it's God's will that the chicken dies and
He
that
had a
you
good
eat it.
life, and now he's providing for your family.
I was doing the 5-knuckle shuffle.
Ooh, oh, you know what? I've seen that the kids from Fortnite do that
Yeah,
the
they
floss,
tick-
the
they
5-knuckle
TikTok,
shuffle
yeah,
for
All
they're
right,
TikTok.
let me see if I can just get clear here for a second. You know, I do have a pug. That was coincidental. But you understand, I don't have a monkey, right?
Yeah, I think it's illegal
I
to
didn't
have
know your
monkeys as a
family
pet.
to raise
Yeah.
monkeys. Yeah.
Yeah. I was spanking the monkey.
Oh, well, speaking of Mozambique, you got to get those monkeys away from the cabins. They will wreak havoc. They'll take
Carl,
anything that's not tied down.
Carl spanked so many monkeys
I
in
had to.
Mozambique.
I
It
felt
was the only way
weird.
to keep them out of our cabin.
I'm not really a believer in corporal punishment, but you know, you had to teach them a lesson. Otherwise, you
Carl
keep
would
them
run.
back.
Carl would run into
All
the
right.
village square spanking monkeys.
You know, I don't have a gherkin, right?
At
A
this
small.
time, I don't see
Are
which
there
one.
gherkins in Mozambique?
No,
They're
call them
hard to come by.
All right,
call
I
them
was
cornichon.
jerking
Cornichon.
the gherkin.
You know, I've heard. I heard from Deborah. You remember Deborah? There's a cookbook, a Jamaican food
All right,
cookbook.
hold
You
on.
can jerk anything.
You know I'm vegan, right?
I'd heard
After
that.
the chicken,
I'm
Yeah,
I'm
You're
vegan.
new vegan?
I've been vegan for 13 years. I was bopping my bologna. Okay?
is
Well, that
that
goes
like
against-
the Beyond Burger, the bopped
Yeah, the
bologna?
Beyond
Like,
bologna,
there's the
yeah, bopped
Impossible Burger,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Beyond Burger, and there's the. Is it the bopped? You're saying the, bopped burger,
bologna, yeah.
the bopped
Okay.
bologna.
All right, you two. I was
Anyway,
I was
gotta get to
masturbating.
customs.
Okay, forget it. I was masturbating. Are you fine? Are you satisfied?
with
Well,
the
we-
chicken and the gherkin and the bologna, that's a lot of props.
Those are euphemisms.
Jeffrey, we gotta go. We gotta get back to
All right,
Utah.
well, hold
Don't
on.
say
All of us-
any- Carl,
this
come on,
got
come on.
uncomfortable.
Carl,
Very-
Carl,
okay.
come on. Stop
Good
talking
luck,
to him.
Jeffrey.
I want the yogurt. And scene. Thank you. It was powerful.
Gina with the chicken.
All right, so when I was sitting around this morning at 8,
Yeah.
I was thinking, well, what if you ran into a couple from Utah and they could have a conversation?
Was it everything you hoped it would be?
It was more than I hoped it would be. All right, let me hit stamps.com here. Stamps.com. This holiday season, more people will be mailing stuff than ever. Post office is going to be busy. Don't have time for that. Stamps.com brings the post office and UPS shipping right to your computer. We've used it here for well over 2 years. Merch and books and paperwork. Whether you're a small office sending out invoices or online seller shipping orders during record-setting holidays, you want to be with Stamps.com. They'll offer 5 cents off every first-class stamp and 40% off priority mail, up to 62% off UPS shipping rates as well. No wonder over 900,000 small businesses already use Stamps.com, right, Dawson?
Well, that's a new one. I'll do it in post.
All right. All right. The schedule's a little compressed today, so we'll take a quick break and we'll come back and do the news right after this.
Give me the news with Grad, news with Gina Grad, breaking viral, all those crazy Trump tweets. Give me news with Gina Grad, trouble in the Middle East, celebrity drunk meltdowns. Need news with Gina Grad.
The news with Gina Grad.
Well, I'll skip the Toobin story and we'll go right to the Super Bowl halftime show. Obviously, Super Bowl is going to look a little different this year, but they have decided who will be performing at halftime. It will be The Weeknd.
Oh, how nice.
The
I was
Weeknd.
expecting someone old and irrelevant.
He'll be performing during the Pepsi Super Bowl halftime show that's going to NFL and Pepsi. He'll take the stage at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa Bay, Florida, Sunday, February 7th, 2021. Game will air on CBS.
You know, it'd be funny if the male acts. So last year we had Shakira and Beyonce, was it?
J-Lo.
Oh, J-Lo, sorry.
Yeah.
But you know how now with the women, the acts are always sort of hypersexual, like everyone's super tight shit, butt hanging out, like
There was a stripper pole.
stripper
at the last
pole
one.
and like
Butts in the camera.
twerking and everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
The males should just do the exact same thing.
Oh,
Like
Go full Lenny
go out
Kravitz.
there in Sacha Baron Cohen's like one piece, neon green bikini thing, and just start
Yeah,
shaking
wag
his
it.
balls and ass. And all
look
the,
for Bono.
could you imagine Could you imagine if they just went, all right, well, that's what they do. We're going to do that. I got my female backup singers, but you guys get down on your knees and I'll just rub my sack on your forehead. Like, how insanely outrageous would it be? Like, they wouldn't even have to exaggerate what Shakira and J-Lo did. Like,
No, just do the dance.
Just do a straight 1-for-1 or a male version of that.
Yeah, that would be a hate crime.
That would
A lot of
be
confused kids.
that would be so insane. And also, it shows us how our society works, right? Like,
Yeah.
Shakira and J-Lo, it's like, look at them shaking their ass, looking good. Who's a better ass shaker, Shakira or J-Lo? But it'd be so insane if you just pictured a male act doing the same thing.
Well, you're absolutely right. And hasn't it always been with the motion picture television grading system that a naked woman is an R, a naked man is an X, or Nancy
Frontal nudity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeffrey Toobin exposing himself as an R. Jeffrey Toobin beating off as a hard X.
Hard X.
Hard.
So, everybody look forward to that.
Does the weekend have a
Right, The
bunch
Weeknd.
of hits or some hits?
I think so.
He has enough for a halftime show.
Is his thing? He
has good hair.
Does he still have the black version of the flock of seagulls hair, or did he change that?
Doesn't he have Adam Durtz's hair from Counting Crows?
No,
Or am I
well,
completely-
No.
he had it. He had it
kinda
way
like-
up,
Yeah.
way up and back. Yeah,
Bouffant.
yeah.
It was like that, but now pictures I'm seeing, it's like more like a mini fro.
You should be able to find a flock of seagull and a weekend thing, and I bet they got the same hairstylist, or they had the same hairstyle. So yes, that was his thing. Now,
Yeah.
we'll see how he does. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Do we want young and cool, or do we want you two or whomever?
I feel like I've seen, and I basing this on nothing, I have a vague memory, when they have a newer act, like a less established act, usually they bring out someone like a Prince or whoever, you know what I mean, to guest.
Aerosmith.
Something like that. And now I could be completely wrong, but I feel like that's been done a few times.
Maybe formatically, with all the pomp and circumstance and all the people out on the field and all the dancers and everything, maybe it's all just going to stay young from this point on. Like I don't know when the Rolling Stones played, but it wasn't that long ago.
It was semi-recently.
It was. And wasn't last year when everybody bowed out, like Maroon 5 was going to do it, and then they bowed out, and nobody wanted to be, NFL was a little too third rail with what was going on. So are we done with that now?
I
yeah.
guess.
We've moved on.
I thought Maroon 5 did it the year before.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Oh, maybe. I'm sorry. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong, but I know that some people were like, I'm
Well,
not.
this might have been 2 years ago
backed out.
with Maroon 5.
Oh, maybe.
But
Maybe
I think your story is overall correct. Yeah.
there's something to do with Maroon 5 and nobody wanting to do that halftime show.
Yeah, I guess we're past that now.
Okay, good to know. Well, in other NFL news, according to a new study, the NFL will lose about $2.7 billion in revenue because there aren't many, if any, fans going. Clearly, the league is doing all they can to keep playing the games. There's so much money at stake. They're losing a bunch at the stadiums, but
The entire
as long-
NFL over the entire year.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As long as the games go on, they can still get the TV revenue. But as far as, in stadium purchases, they're going to lose almost $3 billion.
I wonder how the ratings are doing this year. I know
Good question.
the NBA dropped off a lot. MLB, I don't think dropped off as much, and NFL probably less. I'm trying to think. I think the NBA with the Black Lives Matter, stenciled on the court and everything. I think they just got too political, and that was some of it. I think it pissed off some of their audience. But the NFL's been keeping the politics out of it for the most part. MLB kind of did it, but I know the NBA was down a lot. I don't know if I don't know what other leagues have been doing. I'd be curious what the TV ratings are because
Since each sport restarted, the NBA, NHL, baseball, regular season and playoffs, tennis, everything, college football have all had ratings declines of at least 25% compared with last year.
Seems like everything's down.
Do people miss? So when you watch a game and there's nobody in the stands, does it have that weird effect like porno with a condom?
100% yes.
You should be enjoying this. I know, but I just don't like it as much. And you know, what's that have to do with what's going on the field? And it's like,
it's still going in.
Yeah, I know, but I'm kind of bummed.
I watched the USC opener this last weekend, and it was against Arizona State, 9 in the morning. 0 fans in the stadium. The Coliseum fits 90,000 people, and they had 0 fans in the stadium. Credit to the sound effects guy; he actually made it sound okay. But it's just it feels like a scrimmage, or it feels like some version that we don't respond to.
But haven't people been so starved for sports, like they've been saying for 8 months, that people were tuning into Japanese softball, that they would be thrilled to have this?
Yes, but I'm a hardcore USC fan. Imagine the casual fan who might tune in or might not. Like, they're not tuning in.
Yeah, also, this is a New York Times article I'm referencing, but they also said that because all the sports were on at the same time, everyone was kind of competing against each other then.
That's
football's
true.
actually doing okay now.
Oh, because basketball's so late, yeah.
I don't get with the Coliseum. It's a day game, right?
It's a morning game.
Morning game. Why was it what time is it? Say 9?
Gary may know or Chris may know, but it was some sort of TV deal. Actually, kind of worked out well. I think the ratings were higher than they normally would have been. But yes, it was some sort of TV deal.
In a stadium that holds 90,000 people, why can't we let 10,000 people in and let them?
Just the families of these,
80-something
kids. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Well, yeah, because you can go across the street from the Coliseum and walk down sidewalks in downtown with plenty of people on them, and eat at restaurants where you sit 5 feet from the other couple out on the patio. Like, you can't be more outside than the Coliseum, and you can't have more potential for safe distancing than the Coliseum
because you spread them out really.
Yeah, and even if you let 10,000 people into that place, you could still spread it out. Yeah, you're right. They should just let the families. There's a lot of what I fear most about the world we're sort of living in is these sort of like decrees. You know what I mean? Like
one size fits all.
No one's going to come into the Coliseum because we have a zero tolerance. And it's like, well, what about the families of the players? That all total, there might be 250 people. We could spread that out over 90,000 seats. No, because nobody can come in.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we're at. This is our thing with the rules now, and it's just because it was written, because Barbara Ferrer, who doesn't care about college football, said no. Now we're just no. Yeah. And there's no the thing that sucks is there is no pleading your case.
There's no appeals court.
No.
And you couldn't say, well, the beaches are crowded. There's plenty of people on the beaches. What's so the airport? The airport is 9 miles away from the Coliseum. That's teeming with human beings. What would be so dangerous about? And that's indoors. Why not just let them? Because nobody can go in the Coliseum. That's
Seems
the
like
answer.
A no-brainer.
I know.
Yeah.
Right.
But here we are.
Well, just to double down on that a little bit, and obviously this is inside, but still huge, at least 4 NBA teams will not allow fans back into arenas in any capacity next month. The NBA reportedly sent out a memo Wednesday with protocols to all 30 teams with eligible markets to host fans, according to CBS.
You know, it's really going to hurt here. The guys, the NBA, fine, no one come in the stands, no concessions, no ticket prices, no merch.
No parking.
But the team that's really going to get but the NBA still gets all the TV ad revenue and licensing deals and all that kind of stuff. The team that's really going to take it on the chin is the Harlem Globetrotters. That franchise needs a full house. I mean, everything they do is about ticket sales.
I can't believe they didn't even bother without fans.
The Generals want to win.
And how much, you could imagine that LeBron with no fans could still go hard into the paint and dunk the ball. But when you're doing the confetti bucket trick and there's nobody in the stands.
That's a hard one to pull off.
That's
man.
a tough one to pull off. That is a tough
You got to
one.
be a real performer.
Yeah.
Gotta commit.
Also,
Separate
like,
the men from the boys.
it's got to be a weird discussion. Like, are we going to do the bit today? We're going to do the gag where I do the free throw and then you come up behind me and you pull my shorts down and then I'm wearing the boxer shorts with the hearts on them. Or we're not still going to do that, right? Oh, yeah,
It's
no.
part of the bit. Yeah, it's
Show's
part of the
show.
game.
But the
Show must go on.
but there's nobody here.
Hey, are you a pro or not? Look me in the eyes
Yeah.
right now.
I
Tell
would-
me you're
I'm hearing a lot of
committed. Tell me
commitment
you're
on your
committed.
part.
I wish I was a fucking pro. If I wasn't cut from the Suns 4 years ago,
good
yes, I
point.
would be a goddamn pro. We wouldn't have this conversation about you pulling my pants down during a free throw, which would rarely happen in the NBA, if ever.
If ever.
I'd have to really go back and look and see if that's ever happened.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Meadowlark's son. I'm just saying, Meadowlark Jr. Look, I'm a team player, but the whole effect of you pulling my shorts down and exposing me in my underpants is to embarrass me in front of the crowd. You already know I'm wearing the boxer shorts with the hearts on them. So who are we entertaining here?
All right, listen here, Curly Jr.
Yeah.
Maybe there's one person who doesn't know you're wearing those hard boxer shorts.
All right. Can I tell you this? I chafed so much in those novelty boxing shorts, boxer shorts with the hearts on them, running up and down the court every time. How about I just wear my boxer briefs? I got some Tommy Johns. I'll just leave those on. Meet me in the middle. You can do the thing where you pull the shorts down, and I'll just wear in my boxer briefs. How about that?
Sorry, I know I work in the front office and
Yeah.
I'm not on the court with you guys, but as a woman, I could say that's not funny. That's just sexy. And we're not doing sexy here. We're doing funny.
Well,
just comedy.
We're not.
That's right.
We're not doing
Yeah,
anything
thank you.
here. We're doing nothing here. There's nobody in the stands. I don't even know why we're
I
doing
see
this.
people roaming around. There's people in the rafters fixing the lights. There's somebody
violates-
dealing with the HVAC. I see them.
It violates the spirit of the bit, but if you have boxer briefs with hearts, I'll consider it.
I can go online, but I all right, but we're not going to do the confetti bucket trick, are we? This
Like hell, you're
What
not.
am I do with all this confetti?
listen, Cheryl Swoop's daughter.
You know how many party cities I had to go to get all this confetti?
Yeah, yeah. You know, I'm just feeling like maybe we should just call it a day with this game. I mean, the Washington Generals, the bus hasn't even arrived. I don't think. I think this is what we'd call a charade.
Well, really, what we do is a charade.
Yeah, it's all a charade.
Yeah.
All right,
Why
I'm
this
gonna
is bothering you.
I'm gonna go get really drunk. I'll see you guys on the court.
I'll see how the court.
Perfect. We can have it any other way.
All right.
So that includes the Lakers. No fans. And do you want to know if you're curious when fans can come back to see Laker games? It is until further notice,
Yeah.
and that season starts December 22nd.
December 22nd. Man, they're going to be right back. You have a quote of Aaron Rodgers complaining about NFL protocol, Max Spada?
Yeah,
What is
this
that?
is Aaron Rodgers on the Pat McAfee show, just complaining about the COVID protocol at the NFL.
They're watching everything, and if there's a lapse in protocol, you can get fined. Obviously, you've seen teams get fined already, and individual coaches and players get fined for breaking protocol. I mean, there's one-person tables in the lunchroom. There's plexiglass or whatever the hell it is between our lockers. We have like offense, defense in the locker room. So I'm not sitting next to, Tim Boyle and getting to shoot the shit with him after a meeting or before or after practice. I mean, I can barely even talk to Warren, who's my locker mate, because there's a partition between us. I have to lean out over it, and half the time you can't hear what I'm saying, I think. So it definitely puts a strain on that locker room conversation and camaraderie. I think obviously the proponents of all that say it's necessary to get us to the finish line and to the season. I think there's a lot of questions about is this are we doing all this based on science and it's all necessary?
Is he joking?
I mean, there's some interesting conversations to be had down the line.
Well, he is
about
wearing a
all that.
Kenny's dad
Obviously,
South
we've
Park sweatshirt.
had, a couple positive tests in the last few weeks. That that puts you in this protocol to where, now we're wearing masks down at in the weight room, down to practice, have the little shield stuff.
Hold on. Can I ask you why you just mentioned that? Because you're not talking about the real world. You're talking about in sports, I think. A.J. Dillon had it for the entire game, played an entire game with it, and nobody else had a positive. Now we're hearing that other people played with it. Vance McDonald, who's sitting next to Ben on the plane and in the locker room, Ben's had a negative test. So I would assume that in the locker room, not just yourself, there's a lot of people going like, okay, so these people literally played an entire day. We didn't have the plexiglass there. Are we doing maybe, let's be safe, but maybe we're overdoing it a bit? And can we adjust that at the time? Because it feels like it's going the opposite direction. It's getting like stricter and stricter as it goes, when it feels like there's an opportunity to potentially lighten that up a little bit inside the confines of the little mobile bubble you guys have.
No, I'm not saying that, Pat. I'm definitely not saying that. I'm not saying it would lighten anything up. I'm saying
we got it. They should put a plexi between the offensive and defensive line.
Yeah,
I would watch that.
They're breathing right into each other.
Now, basically,
he goes on to say about like, why can we dap a guy after a game, but we can't eat at the same lunch table as a teammate?
Yeah, he's saying there's a hypocrisy to it. We can, so there's stuff we can control and stuff we can't control. So the stuff we can control, we over control it, and you take like NFL and a Black Lives Matter rally or march or a Biden celebration or an outdoor whatever, people taking to the streets or whatever. We can control the shit out of every business in this town. We control them. And so we control them down to the last fiber and micron. But then when everyone hits the street and has a big rally, we can't control it. So we go, all right, well, we can't control that. Football is a contact sport where people are rubbing and spitting and snarling at each other the entire game. So that we have, and then you go to the lunchroom and the lunch tables are 9 feet apart. I think that's basically what he's saying. Like we do so much controlling on the stuff that we can control, and then there's just shit. I mean, this whole experiment could be broken down into, here's what we can do. We can shut the parks. We can control you. By the way, shutting the fucking parks. Really? Was that ever a good fucking idea? That's ugh. So we can shut the parks. We can shut the businesses. And we'll do that. Thanksgiving, we can try, but it's not going to work. Everyone's just going to fucking do whatever they want in Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So I think when you live in a world like Aaron Rodgers, where you have all these crazy protocols, and then you just go out in the field and put your hands all over each other and try to kill each other, it probably feels like a little over control versus the out of control actual football game. All right, Gina, what else?
Well, this is interesting, and this is the sci-fi future we're about to step into. So let me give you a little preview. Ticketmaster has been working on a framework for post-pandemic fan safety that uses your smartphone. Now, you think you've seen all the movies. This is about to be our reality. So you're basically going to have to verify your vaccination status or test negative with your phone before you'll be let into an event. This is what we're going toward the future. For Billboard.com wrote this. So here's how it's going to work if it's approved. After purchasing a ticket for a concert, fans would need to verify that they've already been vaccinated, which will last for 1 year, because nobody's saying this is a lifetime vaccination, or test negative for the coronavirus approximately 24 to 72 hours prior to the concert. Once the test is complete, the fan would instruct the lab to deliver the results to their health pass company, Clear or IBM or whatever. If the tests are negative or the fan is vaccinated, the health pass company will verify the attendee's COVID status to Ticketmaster, which would then issue the fan the credentials needed to access the event. If the test is positive or you didn't get your verification status, you are just not allowed in.
This is going to end up like the fucking no-fly list at the airport. My name's somehow going to get onto this list of can't attend a concert, and I'm going to never be able to get my name off it because some guy named Alan Carrillo flunked his test. Where are you guys in terms of your home and your protocols and whatever as far as COVID goes? Where are you from the peak of the panic of the pandemic, let's say, end of March, when everyone was like taking their shoes off and wiping everything down and wiping every package down with Purell and washing their hands 15 times a day? Where are you from then to now? And it can be the same. I'm just curious. Has it dropped off?
No, we're the exact example you gave, which was back in March or April. We were wiping down the grocery delivery or the Amazon package with a little, wipe, whatever, Clorox wipe or whatever. And now we're a little more, catch as catch can with that kind of stuff because more information has come to light and we feel more comfortable with
What
it.
would you give yourself? If you gave yourself 100%, where are you now?
What does 100 represent? Like super vigilant about
the
safety?
most. Yeah.
No,
at your highest. At your highest, you were 100%.
At the highest, we were in the 90s probably, and now probably.
Well, I'm putting you at 100% of what you were doing.
On the curve, my 100%. Yeah,
Yes.
we're about mid 60s.
Mid 60s, Gina?
Yeah, we're
Same.
going out outdoor restaurants and stuff.
First of all, I was done going into grocery stores and stuff. I just, I didn't want
Haven't been in
to.
once.
And I have, please, when Whole Foods says the whole store is 50% off, you try to keep me at home. So now obviously I'm doing that more. And my big thing, I haven't gotten sick this whole year. So I've been very fortunate. I am just so afraid something's going to stick to me and hurt somebody else that I'm just trying to dodge everything, wipe everything down. I still don't, if I wear clothes because I have to go into the newsroom, but I'm the only one there. And then I come home, but I'm sitting in a chair everyone sat in. I won't wear those pants. I put those right in the hamper as opposed to I get a wear or two out of those. I don't want to sit on anything at home until I change. And that might be psychological, but otherwise I'm not wiping down groceries anymore.
So if you're you're 100% at your peak, where are you now?
70?
Oh, okay.
65, 70?
All right.
It's about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still go to physical therapy twice a week, and that everyone's touching each other, and they're all touching. They're cleaning equipment between, but it's all shared stuff, and it's just a calculated risk. I feel like that's beneficial. I need to go.
All right, Gina.
It's
sorry,
I
got Jim Gray waiting. So can we bring it home?
Oh, we got plenty. Don't worry. We'll wait on everything. We'll do it next week. I'm Gina Grant, and that's the news.
Gina Grant.
That was the news with Gina Grant.
Yeah, liquid IV. Well, we're looking at. Yeah, MaxBat, I appreciate that, but it's hard when don't
It was there in the news
try to
outro.
try to time it a little bit. Yeah, we're looking at the Weekend and Flock of Seagull guy's hair.
That's great.
When I said he was the Black Flock of Seagulls guy, I wasn't off
No,
there.
you were
His hair's
not
no
telling
longer like
tales.
that, though. He kind of looks like a younger Lenny Kravitz now.
I understand that, Max Pata, but the joke I was making was...
I get it.
Okay.
Confirmed.
Yeah, thank you. But it's important to know he doesn't look like it right now. All right, that's a Dr. Drew move. Maybe even a Dr. Bruce move.
How dare you?
Oh, no.
Dude, come on. That's harsh.
Being compared to two physicians, when you have a 9th grade education and you're offended. Yeah, you may be marginally offended. When I tell Drew, he's going to be rip shit.
They walk off the show.
Yeah,
Storm out.
everybody loses with that.
All right, let me hit liquid IV. Oh, man, it is time to get some liquid IV. I had some this morning. Flu season's around the corner. Winter's approaching. More important than ever to stay strong and keep that immune system working. Liquid IV, these guys created a hydration multiplier and immune support as well. I had night sweats, and which I have semi-frequently, a weird thing where I just wake up in the middle of the night and I've been sweating right through my sheets, and I've been drinking a ton of liquid IV. I keep it by the side of my bed, pull the packet, shake it up, put it in the water bottle, shake that up. Cutting edge blend of vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. Got to get your zinc now as well. And again, I drank liquid IV about 2.5 hours ago. So with every purchase, Liquid IV donates a serving to respond in response, I should say, to COVID-19 to hospitals, first responders, food banks, veterans, active military. It's Liquid IV, right, Dawson?
Liquid IV's new hydration multiplier plus immune support is available at Walmart, or order online and get 25% off when you go to liquidiv.com and use code ADAM at checkout. That's 25% off anything you order when you use promo code ADAM at liquidiv.com. Get better hydration today at liquidiv.com. Promo code ADAM.
All right, we'll talk to legendary sportscaster and journalist and reporter and producer Jim Gray right after this.
The Adam Carolla Show presents Jim Gray's birthday cocktail party for November 11th. Let's see who's on the guest list. The author of Crime and Punishment, Fyodor Dostoevsky. World War II general, Old Blood and Guts, George Patton. One of the scientists who worked on the Manhattan Project, Raymer Schreiber. American author, Kurt Vonnegut. Comedian Jonathan Winters. Former California Representative, Barbara Boxer. The former president of Nicaragua, Daniel Ortega. Legendary rock producer, Mutt Lange. American golfer, Fuzzy Zeller. Demi Moore. Callista Flockhart. From the NFL, Bill Musgrave. John Jett. Lynn Elliott. Dave Moore. Jeff Snyder. And Melvin Tootin. And Leonardo DiCaprio. Jim Gray is on the Adam Carolla Show.
Wow, quite a list of notables. I got, and my birthday, the most popular celebrity is Todd Bridges from Facts of Life. That's my claim to fame. The book, I should say, Talking to Goats, The Moments You Remember and the Stories You Never Heard, and it's available now on Amazon with a foreword by Tom Brady. So I know you're going to be doing a podcast with Tom Brady. Is it a radio show, or a podcast?
Thursday and Monday Night Football. So we got Thursday Night Football tonight.
Just after we wrap it up here. Tell us about Tom Brady. What do we need to know about Tom Brady, or is Tom Brady just as he appears?
He's better than he appears. He's really a good guy. He's so down to earth. He's so, normal. He's just a good guy. He's cares deeply about football. Obviously, that's his first and second love, and along with his family. And he's just, he wants people to be happy with him, and he trusts people because he trusts himself. So he's willing to, bring others into his life. And, he's really just a good guy. And I think, probably, Adam, 31 cities hate him, or maybe 30 now. They love him in Boston and Tampa and everybody else. He's just beaten them so bad. So, he has this stigma of being like a guy because he's beaten them that he's not liked, but couldn't be more further and just the exact opposite of what he is.
Well, some of the notable athletes you interviewed, Muhammad Ali, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, Pete Rose, Larry Bird, Tom Brady, of course, Hank Aaron, Ted Williams, so many luminaries, and Mike Tyson, of course. Let's try to figure this dynamic out. So is this a fair statement about Brady? Brady probably doesn't have high self-esteem. Brady feels like he's got to go prove it every play and every game and every year. He seems to be a guy who the second he sits back and thinks he's better than anyone in the league, he's not going to be pushing himself as hard. Is that a fair statement?
Well, I would say he has a chip on his shoulder.
Yes.
That he's felt slighted.
Right.
That because he was picked 199th, that he's still trying to prove all those people 6 Super Bowls later that they've made a mistake, and it drives him, and he wants them all to know, and he wants them to pay for it. And yeah, I think that that would be how I would call it, a chip on his shoulder. And he's still determined. He wants to win as bad now as he did his first Super Bowl. And
yeah.
He for whatever the reason, I ask him sometimes, are you tormented by this? Are you tormented by this endless search for perfection? Because you've touched it from time to time, but you can't hold it. It's like a jellyfish; it escapes.
Mm-hmm.
But because he's touched it, he wants it again and again. It's like, it'd be like an addict trying to get high. They want to keep trying to get there, and obviously you can't stay there. And maybe that's a bad analogy because, to my knowledge, Tom's never been high in his life. But I would say trying to touch that perfection. is something that just drives him so much, and sometimes it can drive you crazy.
Yeah, I think in a way, as a parent, you always kind of want your kids, you hope they're blessed, blessed with talent or physicality or smarts or whatever. But I think about, and I always kind of think about this, the guys I went to high school with who just looked good with their shirt off. They didn't have to lift weights. They didn't have to work as hard as the next guy. They would start every football game without really putting the practice in. That was fine for a couple semesters, but later on when you get out of high school and it's time to go to work, you don't have a work ethic. You look good with your shirt off, but you can't take your shirt off when you're working as a greeter for Costco in Burbank. Do you feel like it has benefited Brady knowing that he didn't have the gifts, let's say, the foot speed, or many of the other things, physical gifts that go along with playing the position, and thus he's overcompensated with the work ethic?
I think that's an interesting point, because he's been overlooked, and he's not, he always says he's not physically gifted, and he's had to grind. In fact, I was with him one time, and we were playing golf, and somebody came up to him and was talking to him about another sport, and he said, so it's kind of like, you have to work and you do this. And Tom looked at this guy as he was breaking it down, and he finally said to him in a really polite way, I'm a professional athlete.
Right.
Do you understand that I know what it takes? And this was like 18 seasons in. This was just a couple of years ago. I understand what it takes to have to be in shape to get your body ready. And that's why Tom has developed, what a lot of people have called an alternative, pliability. Is what he has called it in the TB12 method, and to have your muscles, not so rigid, and all of this stretching, which he thinks, is detrimental, leads to hamstring injuries, leads to tendons being torn. So he wants to be like, he's called it like a gummy bear. When he gets hit, he wants to be able to absorb that and kind of move with it. So tough enough and strong enough to be able to withstand the hit, but flexible enough and pliable enough so that he can take that, absorb it without, almost like a flak jacket. So I think what you said is probably true. He's had to work so hard, and you should just see this guy, what he does in the summer when football ends and he's getting ready. I mean, it's phenomenal every single day to be dedicated to this, to the mechanics of it, to try and be better tomorrow than he was yesterday at age 43. I've never seen anything like it. I've traveled with Ali, been around with Tyson. Floyd Mayweather had that same type of myopic view, that hard work and dedication. That was his mantra, and that's what he used to scream at the gym all the time. But when you see it up close with somebody like Brady, who's not as physically gifted and who's had to really work at it, it's remarkable what they put themselves through.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up Floyd Mayweather, because Floyd Mayweather is what happens when you have the incredible physical gifts, and Floyd has that for boxing, that fast twitch, the reflex, the eyesight. When you see a guy with amazing defense in boxing, that's a gifted fighter, just the slight head movements and the rhythms of the whole thing. So Floyd, what happens when you take crazy physical gifts and combine them with a very strong work ethic, you end up with 50-0.
And that's what defines him. There's a chapter in Talking to Goats in the book, Adam, about perfection and what it does to you. And the three people that I focus on are three people who I covered and know very well: Floyd Mayweather, Michael Phelps, and Don Shula. And they were totally different people, but perfection defines their lives. Coach Shula would do anything to protect the 72 Dolphins and that record, so much so that, he won 347 games, the most in the history of the NFL. But and that record mattered to him. But the record that really mattered to him was that after that season, the perfect season. And, that was something that Very, very important. Floyd's O is not only the O after the 50, but the dollar signs. So that also defined him. If he could make $1 billion and a half dollars, those zeros were very, very important and became his form of perfection. And if he had a loss there, those zeros after his name, 50 and 0, 49 and 0, if he ever besmirched that or had that blemish, it would mean less zeros in the bank account. And then you had Michael Phelps, who won more gold medals than anybody in the history of the Olympics, and the most decorated swimmer, obviously. And, here's a guy that wanted to be perfect. He wants to be the perfect husband. He wants to be the perfect father. He wants to be the perfect friend. He wants to be the perfect swimmer. And in his attempt to be the perfect swimmer, the guy was willing to stare at a black line underwater, day after day, hour after hour, minute after minute, year after year, at a black line underwater so that he could have a fingernail touch the end board before somebody from some other country or a fellow American competitor.
Yeah.
And then you look at what he did on HBO, and he's talked about the mental health issues that he had and all the things that he went through in his upbringing. But just think of that solace and that internal drive to be perfect and what that will do to you, and how that black line must be just forever emblazed in his mind's eye, and that work ethic. It's remarkable when you see that somebody is able to do that, but it takes its toll. It takes its toll. Perfection, there's a price for it, Adam.
Well, think about, and I've never had this thought before, but you're talking about the black line. When it comes to repetitive training stuff, whether, Tom Brady works out and everyone works out. But what I'm saying is the trainers, the people you're working with, you try to vary the drills, mix it up, do this drill for 20 minutes and then we'll move on to the next drill. And even people at home, or at the gym. Yeah, you're going to go work out, but you put your earbuds in and you put your favorite podcast on, and the screen at the gym's showing ESPN. And so you're watching football highlights, you're listening to your podcast, and you're doing your military press or whatever. You're running on a treadmill. Well, every treadmill has a TV set, because most people, if they ran on a treadmill minus earbuds, minus a video monitor, would last 4 minutes and be bored out of their gourd and go home with their tail between their legs. Phelps is in a world where he cannot train with earbuds, just music. If you think about what a motivating factor, some guys crank up their favorite bands and go hit the heavy bag hard or whatever. No TVs, no monitors, no earbuds, no sound. Really just that black line that goes around the world 5 times.
God, that's incredible. I'd never thought of that. Yeah, every guy who you see on a treadmill in a gym, everybody has it now, just, earbuds or headphones. And you're right. Maybe 3 to 5 minutes if you didn't have them, or even if you're just out on a jog, and the landscape's beautiful, the topography, maybe you're at the ocean, maybe you're in the mountains. You take all that in for about 8 minutes, but you still either you're engaged with your music. So that's really interesting. I'd never thought of that, because you are totally alone. I knew he was alone, but I had never even thought of the music factor. And to be so of yourself, and to have that, you have to have an internal equilibrium that has to have some form of a balance that just allows you to do that. I don't know how you just wouldn't go crazy in your head just to do that. And you think of the other ones too. I'm sure that all of these swimmers who've achieved this over the course of many Olympic Games, the Ian Thorpes who've repeated, or Janet Evans and so forth. It's a very lonely existence, very lonely.
Let's talk boxing, because I love boxing. You love boxing. You've covered so many great fights. What were some of your favorite fights you've covered, or favorite boxers?
Favorite fights. My favorite fight of all time, the best fight I ever covered and was able to broadcast on Showtime, was Castillo versus Corrales.
Mm.
An incredible fight, and it was voted the best fight in the history of Showtime. And it's been voted the fight of the year. It's been voted, everything. And it was just incredible what happened when Castillo went down, and then he put Corrales down, and then and before you knew it, after both of them have been down, and
Dan Goosen,
11th round, and then Corrales knocked out Castillo, and it was one of the best interviews I'd ever done. I said to Diego Corrales, who unfortunately passed away,
motorcycle accident. Yeah.
Yeah. I asked him, how would you describe this fight? And he said, this fight was an honor.
Yeah.
An honor to have an opponent like that.
Anyone who's listening, you got to watch that fight, because Corrales was in all kinds of trouble at the end, and he just kind of let his mouthpiece go, and his mouthpiece hit the ground, and he was being destroyed in the corner, and the ref called a timeout to get his mouthpiece back in. I mean, it was probably the most strategic spitting out of a mouthpiece in all of sports history, because had he not spat out the mouthpiece, he was probably 5 to 8 seconds away from either being knocked out or the ref calling it. But he spat out the mouthpiece, and the ref, I don't know why, because you're drinking a gallon of your own blood if you're in a fight like that, but they have to hose it off with the water bottle because it hit the canvas. So the ref hands it to Dan Goosen, his trainer, and Goosen realizes that Corrales needs more than 15 seconds to recover. So Goosen does this move where he's kind of playing dumb, like, well, we want me to do this? Like, hit it with the ref's going, come on, hit it with the water, get it back in his mouth. We got to get the fight back on. And Goosen's like, well, which water? And Goosen is just trying to buy himself in his fighter precious seconds. Like he's doing a kind of a move when in football, the other team doesn't have timeouts and the guy runs it down the field and they tackle him. He's doing that move where they get off him real slow or they walk back to the line, just trying to stretch out, just literally buy my guy 10 seconds to clear his head. So Goosen does that move and he gets it back into Corrales' mouth and he knocks the guy out. That
was a great. It was Joe Goosen. Dan unfortunately passed away.
Sorry, Joe Goosen.
And, he's going into Hall of Fame. He went into class last year, but it was canceled because of COVID. But God, your memory's incredible. You just said that exactly verbatim as it happened.
Yeah, I'm more impressive than people think. I think.
Well, I don't doubt you for a second. And to hear that, we don't need Steve Albert to have the replay. You just gave it exactly as it happened. So that was a great fight.
And that Corrales died months later, I think, in a motorcycle accident makes it kind of
it was very
poetic.
Very sad.
Right.
Died
Exactly 2 years later. Sorry.
Yeah.
But a short time later.
Yeah.
All right. Second favorite fight.
Second favorite fight. Hagler Hearns.
Oh yeah.
That was a great it's the greatest 3 rounds. I mean, it was just incredible.
Yeah.
And I was there for Bob Arum and Top Rank and doing the interviews in the pre-fight and then the post-fight doing his satellite distribution thing. So that was a great fight. And I really enjoyed Marvin Hagler's company. Marvelous Marvin Hagler's company. He was a really understated guy from Brockton, Massachusetts, and he had Goody and Pat Petronelli, who were his trainers and managers and so forth, and the Petronelli brothers. And it was really only Marvin that they had. They had his brother Robbie Sims as well, but
all right.
And Marvin was just a down to earth, really good guy. But he didn't, he wasn't bombastic and he wasn't any of those things. And Ray Leonard was the hero of the era. So Marvin, always kind of took the back seat, even though he was a great guy. You asked guys that I liked. I really liked Marvin Hagler, and he was terrific. Obviously, Muhammad Ali was,
Marvin
thing that happened in my professional life with me and Mike Tyson. So I would say that those are my favorites.
Marvin Hagler's one of the only examples of guys who left at the top of their game, moved to Italy, became an actor, but never was enticed back. I mean, could have had some major payday fights, certainly, rematches or there were so many fights for him to take and so much money to make. Where does a guy get that kind of pride, or what is it?
I think he was just totally disgusted with the decision when they gave that decision to Ray Leonard. He felt he won the fight, and he felt that Ray stole all those rounds at the end by having a barrage in the last 10 seconds, and it influenced the judges. And it just bothered him to no end that's how he would suffer a loss after waiting so long for Ray Leonard and being teased for so long by Mike Trainer and Ray Leonard. Mike Trainer was his manager, and Ray had stepped away and then finally came back. And Ray fought a brilliant fight, but Marvin was very, very angry and bitter with what that was. And he just kind of said, screw it. I don't need boxing anymore. Boxing needs me. I don't want to tolerate or take this. And I think he was just crushed. He was bitter and crushed. And so he just said, I'm not doing this anymore. And he got out of Dodge and left his wife, Bertha, and ended up getting divorced and moved over to Italy and had a very successful acting career in Italy, and he seemingly was happy.
12 successful defenses of the title, middleweight champ from 80 to 87. Yeah, the thing about the fight with the Sugar Ray is it wasn't the worst call I've ever seen, but it was my feeling is you got to kind of beat the champ, and I don't really think he beat him, but God bless Sugar Ray, because as Jim was alluding to, Sugar Ray just had this thing where he told his corner to yell out 30 seconds in each round. And you really, I don't know why more people don't employ this, but, they're 3-minute rounds, which means they're 6 segments of 30 seconds. I don't care who you are, when you watch a guy win, if you saw a guy win the first 30 seconds versus the last 30 seconds of a round, and now it's time for you to write something down on a scorecard, you'd be a fool not to do the last 30 seconds. And so that's what he did. He'd come in there and do those flurries, which didn't hurt Hagler, but he'd do those flurries for the last 30 seconds of each round, and then whoever was judging it would go, all right, well, that one goes to the guy who did the flurry at the end.
You're exactly right. And you broke it down exactly correct. I mean, this just popped into my head, but how often do you hear somebody who has a loved one or who hadn't seen somebody in a long time, and then they see them really close to their death, and they always say, I wished I hadn't seen them then, or I wished I wasn't in there at that moment, not because they didn't love them, but because they wanted to remember them as they were and what was in their head. And that last impression can be so lasting. And so that's what your mind harkens back to. So what you're saying about boxing judges, it's just normal. We remember what's most recent and what's most vivid. And if you can steal those rounds, and Hearns and Leonard was very, very proficient at doing that. And I believe it did weigh on the judges, and, he won it.
Is Floyd Money Mayweather, there's got to be a fight looming for him with a, I don't know, UFC guy or something. I mean, there's got to be something out brewing, right? What's brewing with him?
There's always something brewing with him. He always says he's retired, and then if somebody, puts another 100 million, 200, 300 million in front of him, he'll unretire in a heartbeat. And so, he'd like to fight Habib. Habib now has said that he is retired because of the death of his father. It's a huge payday for both of them. I don't know what the appetite is for that again, I guess because UFC is so strong and popular, and Habib and Floyd is the pay-per-view king. He did the most pay-per-views ever with Manny Pacquiao and that fight that we had on Showtime. And then the second most was with Conor McGregor. So, he is box office. The problem is it's getting so far out there now. It's several years already since he fought Andre Berto in a real boxing match. And it's and that was a foregone conclusion that he would win his last match. And so I guess if, a lot of people thought for a long time, Adam, that he would fight Manny Pacquiao again. But Pacquiao's had some success in the last couple of years and maybe better suited right now to beat Floyd Mayweather, who hasn't, been fighting. So I think that probably is off the table, but it's never over for boxers. Every time they say it's over, you can bet on one
No.
thing. It's not.
Ask Roy Jones Jr. and Mike Tyson. What is your take on Roy Jones and Tyson? Anyone who's seen the footage of Tyson working the focus pads lately says Tyson looks like the scariest 52-year-old on the planet. What's Roy Jones's plan with Tyson? And Roy Jones
move a lot.
Roy Jones was one of the most gifted athlete fighters of all time and was completely dominant in his prime, but he's not a bona fide heavyweight. Tyson pretty much is. How does that? First off, what's the weight? What are they doing, a catch weight? Like where's that thing going to land?
Well, Mike Tyson, I spoke to him yesterday. He called me on my birthday, which was very nice of him and Kiki. And Mike has lost 100 pounds, he told me yesterday. 100 pounds.
Wow.
So he is in fantastic shape, and he says he really feels good about where he is and himself, and his weight and his mental outlook is just fantastic. And I've been over to see him in the gym. I'm going to work on that fight. Showtime nice enough to let me go work on that broadcast. And so I think it's really interesting. He's 54 years old. He 54. Hasn't fought in 15 years. Okay, since McBride, and he was done. He was done after that fight, and he just said it to me in the ring that night. He said, "I just don't have this in me anymore. I don't have that instinct to go out and be ferocious and want to do this anymore." So I think now the passage of time and getting in shape and seeing what's gone on with athletes who have extended their careers. Obviously, in other sports, they're not getting hit like he is, but to see just how well LeBron James plays at an age that's getting older, to see Tom Brady, to see Drew Brees, to see these guys now, lengthening their careers, it's an exhibition, so we'll find out. But Tyson did tell me in an interview that he would be willing to fight if, see how this goes. He would be willing to fight Evander Holyfield on the third fight. And if he does well, he would consider one of the champions right now, possibly Joshua or Fury down the road. And, everybody can point to George Foreman.
Right. Yeah.
George Foreman wasn't 54 years old. But let's see how he looks. I know that a lot of boxers have told me that what they see in the gym, just the speed, that they would not want to be hit by that.
Yeah, I was thinking about. So it's crazy how resilient you can be and how the body can come back. So I interviewed Tyson at his premiere of his documentary. That documentary, I think James Mangold did it. I can't recall, but
Undisputed?
Yeah, I think so. So it was about 8 years ago, maybe 9 years ago. I'm trying to think. It was a little while back. And I saw Tyson, and of course I'm a boxing fan, so I'm a Tyson fan. And he was shuffling. He wasn't really walking. He was kind of shuffling his feet and kind of looking down. And he looked like an old, worn-out blues singer. And I remember after interviewing him, I go, wow, man, time has not been kind to him. He was 45 at the time. And I was like, boy, man, retirement has not been good to Tyson. His spirits were down. And like I said, he moved like a tired older person. And the notion that a decade later, he's in the prime of his prime shape and getting back into the ring should just let everyone know that you may feel like shit today, but clean up your diet a little, get off the whatever you're on, get into the gym and see if you don't just bounce back. Oh, James Toback. Sorry, not James Mangold. James Toback. And the movie's from 2009, so this is 11 years ago. Yeah, it's been a minute.
What was the name? Undisputed?
It was just called Tyson.
Oh, it was Tyson. It was
so his one-man show, I guess, was Undisputed.
Yeah, that was a one-man show. This was just Tyson, which was a really cool doc, but it was pretty melancholy, too. Like, when you hear Tyson talk about Tyson, he's not his biggest fan.
You know, he's had the most amazing life of anybody. And I say in the book, Adam, that, you know, I think that he's one of the very few or last truly honest athletes. You know,
Yes.
he takes his own medicine. When he does something wrong, he is responsible and accountable for it. And he stands up and he does it. The night he bit the ear off twice, bit off part of the earlobe, he came out and did the interview. He didn't hide behind a statement 4 days later and PR people. He came out and answered the questions. When he left jail, he stood there and he answered the questions for me, you know, upon leaving jail.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's an interesting segue in the book, you know, that I revealed here that I hadn't before. We talked about it on the air. Mike wrote me a letter when he was in the Indiana State Penitentiary. And the letter came to my house. Inexplicably, we were not social. We were professionally acquainted. But it had been opened by the prison guards. It was a 5-page letter. And on the second page, Adam, there was a paragraph that said, they would let me go tomorrow, Mr. Gray. That's what he always called me, Mr. Gray. They would let me go tomorrow and kill my number, which is prison slang for time left served, if I will admit to this rape. However, I did not rape this woman, and I will never admit to something I didn't do. Next paragraph. However, there are 4 or 5 other things that I've done throughout the course of my life that are worse than what I've been accused of. Therefore, I feel I'm at the right place at the right time.
Wow.
Wow. So I had this letter when he got out of prison to do this interview on NBC. And I said, Mike, was this a private letter or can we discuss this? You can ask me anything you want, Mr. Gray. So I asked him that question. What was worse? And he looked over at his lawyer. This is on live television. He looked over at his lawyer, then back at me, and he said, it's probably best not to answer that question on national television. I don't know what the statute of limitations is. However, what I wrote you is true. It's karma. I belonged where I belonged, and that's why I was there.
Wow. Yeah, you don't get that. Well, I don't know. Maybe prison would help more athletes reflect and internalize. I don't know. But yeah, that is very unique. Tyson has a very kind of, he has an interesting philosophical intellect mixed with a from the mouth of babes. You know, just says if he's thinking it, it's gonna come out of his mouth. Sometimes good, sometimes bad. I want to talk about that fight with Holyfield and biting off the ear, and you know Tyson thinking he was being headbutted a lot, and that entire world. I want to get into that. We'll take a quick break, and we'll come right back with Jim Gray right after this. So Jim Gray's book, Talking to Goats, The Moments You Remember and the Stories You Never Heard. Jim, I'll compliment you in that I think the reason you've had such a long and storied career and the reason you have these relationships with this crazy diversity of athletes and then politicians and luminaries is because of your very affable, fair approach to interviews and commentating and that kind of stuff. I think those people have to trust you, otherwise they're not going to open up to you. And I don't know if that's something you've cultivated or that's just always been kind of you.
I think it's always just been kind of me. I haven't, tried to be anything other than what I am. And it's true relationships and friendships have to be reciprocal.
Right.
You know, I can't just go decide that I want to be hanging out with Kobe Bryant or Jack Nicholson or Tom Brady or Mike Tyson. You know, they have to want that in return. And so you can't really put a finger on it. How are you friends with people? What makes a relationship work? You know, there's all those intangibles. You know, I've been very fortunate to have been able to have gained the trust of these guys, and I'm humbled by it and truly grateful. And I can't sit here and tell you why that has happened. You know, the thing that's the first thing in the book is the words of Kobe Bryant. And, you know, I don't mean to read this here, but this is what touched me most. And that's why it was the first thing. He said, if I had one word to describe Jim Gray, I would say honest.
Yeah.
And then he goes on and says why he says that. So it kind of speaks to what you're talking about. I've always thought that loyalty and integrity in relationships was the most important part, that was much more important than any of it, than being a good broadcaster, than doing big games, that you had to have that. And if you had the relationships and you were honest and you could be trusted, that would take you to levels that you probably never would anyplace else.
Well, sorry.
So that's just kind of how I've acted. I haven't tried to be anything other than what's inside and who I am.
Well, I'm here to testify to your honesty, because when you were complimenting me on the Carolla fight replay 20 minutes ago, you were dead nuts on, and I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You had that exactly right. I didn't need to see the replay. You painted the exact picture verbatim as it happened.
Well,
you know what, Larry King,
mm-hmm.
and Larry King, who was, great broadcaster. I saw the way that he behaved with people, and he was genuinely happy for other people's success. And he didn't think that somebody doing something well, whether it was Barbara Walters or somebody who would be perceived as competition, somehow detracted from him. And when I worked for Bud Greenspan in my early years, Adam, he said something that I thought was so arrogant and condescending when I was a youngster that I kind of was repelled by it. And then I got older and I said, boy, was that brilliant. He said, I knew I was good when I could look at someone else's work and admire it.
Mm. Yeah, right.
When I see your work and when I hear that, I'm thinking, God damn, does he have that playing in front of him? How does he remember all this? That's remarkable. So
I never was a reader. So I got my information visually. So when I would see something or hear something, I could commit it to memory. I couldn't, if I read about it, I'd have no recollection of it, which made me, of course, a horrible student, but a good analyzer of fights from 14 years ago, or 17 years ago. I don't know when that Carolla fight even was.
I think that's about the right time frame. Correct.
All right. So Tyson,
2000s.
Famously, Tyson, 2005. All right. So I was right in there. Tyson famously taking 2 bites on Holyfield's ears. Did he get each side?
Yes.
Yeah, he got each
took
side.
off the earlobe here, and then he bit him on the other side, and that's when Mills Lane stepped in and said, that's it. I told you not to do that. You did it again.
Was he being headbutted badly in that fight?
And that's what bothered him. And that's why he was so upset, because he had said before the fight, Mills, I'm going to be headbutted. He does it on purpose. It's going to stop me from being able to be effective. Okay. And Mitch Halpern in the first fight did not penalize Evander Holyfield. And so Mike was very bitter about that when Holyfield had won that first fight and stopped him because he had been headbutted repeatedly. So Tyson would say after the fight with me, and Adam, it's the only time in my career where I've seen actually the physical skull of another human being. The cut was so deep over his eye that you could see the white of that orbital bone, and he had not had it stitched up yet. And he said, I had to retaliate.
Right.
I had to somehow figure out a way to even the playing field. So if he's going to keep butting me, then that's what he thought of. Now, it was deplorable and it was despicable and it was wrong. But in his mind, he was just trying to get even so that he could have the playing field. If that guy's had part of his ear off, maybe it would hurt him as bad as his eye was hurting him from the butts.
Well,
It would have been rational, but that's how he felt, and that's what he did.
Well, in a kind of a weird way, if you break it down, and you said to an average American, would you rather be headbutted to the extent where we could physically see bone above your right eye, like a gash that was so severe that it got down to your orbital socket, or have someone bite off a small part of your earlobe? I don't know. It's kind of a coin toss. I'd probably go for the ear.
I don't think I'm taking that trade. I'm trading down in the draft and hoping that there's another choice.
But what I'm saying is
I understand it. Yeah.
You go, well, that's insane. What Mike Tyson did to Holyfield was insane, but not if you're being brutalized by the other guy's skull to the point where you're being destroyed by these headbutts.
Yeah, and it was all very, I don't want to say well thought out, but I just did another interview that's going to be on Fox. They're doing a special on talking to goats, which is really nice of them on the book. And I go back and interview a lot of the goats. Brady's on it, Tyson, Eric Dickerson, Lonnie Ali, and so forth. A lot of the people, Eric.
Is it Layla Ali?
No, Lonnie Ali, his wife.
Oh, Lonnie Ali. Okay, sorry. I was thinking of his daughter.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so go back and talk to them. And I asked Tyson about that night, and he says he would do it again.
Well, once again, if you feel like someone is busting your head open with the top of their head, then, got him to stop.
Well, it was kind of astonishing to me that he would say that after everything he has been through. A couple of things that I would not have expected, and that would be one of them.
The thing I always admired about Holyfield, and Holyfield's a pretty complex guy. I guess there's reasons to like him and reasons not to like him, and I don't know him. But his bravery I always admired, and I couldn't tell if it was generated by his deep religious beliefs or he was just a guy who went into a Tyson fight with Tyson being the baddest man on the planet or the biggest bully on the block, and Holyfield's plan was to bully him. And most people are kind of thinking about not being hit by Tyson, not trading in the center, throwing hooks with him in the center of the ring. Holyfield never seems to display any fear or self-doubt or hesitation or anything. He just, Tyson will tell you I was scared or I didn't want to do it or whatever. It was all bravado. I was really scared inside or something. Holyfield just seems to go, Holyfield's the guy who goes, Mike Tyson, I'm going to kick that guy's ass. And he believes it.
And he did.
And he did.
And he dominated, really. I mean, Mike wasn't able to gain any traction with him. And he's a terrific guy. You said you don't know him. And, part of that courage, and I think we talked about it the last time I was on, Holyfield didn't go crazy over all that because he had bit a guy in those Olympic trials. So he had bit somebody in the ring.
Holyfield did.
Yeah. So if Holyfield knew what was going through Tyson's mind, because he had done the same thing, not an ear, he had bitten some guy on the neck and the shoulder.
Really?
Yes, when he was trying out, I think it was 1983 or 1984. Yeah, so he had known the experience on both ends.
How about him getting robbed out of a gold medal?
Same with Roy Jones Jr. That was the worst ever. And in fact, the Olympic Committee even admitted about Roy Jones what happened in Seoul, Korea. They admitted that there was a bribery scandal. And they still, to this day, even after the admissions, even after those convictions, still have not awarded him that medal.
That's got to be insane. You do enough to handily win. By the way, the reason he should win or be awarded a gold medal is because if you take whoever won the gold medal, and I don't know who won the gold medal, but whoever allegedly beat Roy Jones Jr., probably did not have the kind of professional career Roy Jones Jr. did, right? I mean,
that is correct.
If allegedly you're better than Roy Jones, then why don't you just go on and have, 5 different belts and 5 different weight classes? I would say just seeing what Roy Jones did after that in his professional career, being one of the most dominant fighters for, almost a decade, that would suggest that he probably beat the unknown South Korean guy or whoever he's in there with.
But you know what happens with athletes? They always remember what they don't have much, much more than what they do. If you ask Brady what he thinks about more, is it the six victories, or is it the two losses to the Giants and the other loss to the Eagles? If you ask Chuck Daly, who was my best friend, introduced me to my wife, Chuck Daly, until the day he died, was haunted by that pass that Isaiah Thomas threw away in the Boston Celtics in the Boston Garden, and they lost that series, even though he went on to win two world championships in beating the Lakers in Portland in the Dream Team. He was still thinking about that pass, and so I'm sure that Roy Jones, without having spoken to him about it, thinks a lot about not having that medal.
Oh my God!
He won 4 titles. He won four divisions. So it's those losses that seem to stick with these guys who obtain this incredible achievement and excellence.
Hey, Chris, who did Roy Jones beat, or who beat Roy Jones in the Olympics, and then what happened to that guy's career? This would be an interesting question. And yeah, Holyfield got jobbed because he knocked the guy out really at the bell. I mean, he's just a complete
split second.
Split second, and he's one of the few guys who fought for the gold medal, knocked the guy out, and got bronze. Park. All right, so Park Si Hoon, or Yoon, or whatever, is the guy who won. I'll bet you he didn't have 4.
Korean, correct?
Yeah, sounds like it. I'll bet you.
Yes, Korean.
I bet you he didn't have 4 championship belts like Roy Jones, and Ray's fighting cocks as well, which is Roy's thing. All right, well, Jim, you got a hard out in about 5 minutes to hang out with your best friend Tom Brady.
Yeah, well, we'll be just here's the Monday Night Football studio right here, Adam. So we just go to this microphone and put on the headsets, and it's all kind of, idiot proof, and they control it all out in New York.
Hey, can you put a word in for me with Brady? I've always wanted to interview that guy.
I sure will. Happy to do it.
Tell him
he'd have fun. Have fun. Doesn't do much during the season, so maybe during the off season would probably be a better chance.
I love me some football, and I so respect Brady. Obviously, everyone does, but the Giants' win against the Patriots was the craziest. It was the craziest win ever. I mean, the first win when they were 18-0 at that point.
17, trying to be 18.
Oh, trying to be 18
they
at that
equaled
point.
The Dolphins, but didn't. There was an extra game. There were 2 extra games now.
Right. That was the most improbable, crazy game ever. I was watching it over at Jimmy Kimmel's house, and when the game ended, there was a bunch of celebrity types sitting around, not focusing. And I just remember standing up. I may have had a few beers, and I started screaming at everyone in the room, "Why aren't you more crazy about this? Is insane. What just happened was insane." It was insane that the Giants looked like they were going to go 0-3 to start that season, right?
And then David Tyree makes an impossible play where all 22 players do everything exactly right, including Rodney Harrison makes a great play. And the referees in that instance didn't blow the whistle.
Right.
They could have called Eli Manning in the grasp or
right.
tried to keep him from being in harm's way. Everybody did everything exactly right, and the referees. And Adam, I was sitting with Don Shula and his wife, Mary Ann.
Oh, my God.
Who was on the other side of this. They wanted to see history stopped. So he was so excited and so happy. And Don was my partner on the radio then. And then Brady ended up taking his spot a few years later on the radio as well. But Don was just so elated with the Giants.
Well, Shula loves his unbeaten record. And it's also insane. That's not insane, but improbable that it's stood since 72. Look, the Patriots were they were the class of the league. They were 17-0. The Giants got off to a rocky start. I don't know what the spread of that game was. I mean, the points, it had to be 6.5, 7 points.
I can't remember. I'm not sure.
It couldn't have been a field goal. It just couldn't have been a field goal. All the momentum in the world. They were going to win that thing. You're sitting next to Don Shula. The second greatest game for Don Shula is when the 85 Bears looked untouchable. Nobody was going to touch them. They were going to, by the way, their Super Bowl, they won, I don't know, 50. Well, they beat the Patriots, right? In the Super Bowl, I don't know, 55-24, something, some version of it. They just rolled. They were rolling on everyone.
Oh, they just, the team coached by Raymond Berry.
And they go, yeah, the
85.
Patriots, right? And they and Chicago comes to Miami, and Miami's Miami. They're okay, but they're not Chicago. Chicago had to be a 10-point favorite in that game, and Miami beats them in Miami.
And you got a great memory. Remember the famous play that took place in that game?
They did the hook and lateral.
Great memory. Exactly right.
Yeah. I should give more credit.
That was special.
All right. Again, if I read about the hook and lateral, I wouldn't know what you're talking about, but I saw it. And that's all I need to know.
And we'll never forget it.
The book, Talking to Goats, The Moments You Remember and the Stories You Never Heard, available now on Amazon. And the foreword is by the great Tom Brady. Jim, always... I really enjoy talking to you because you know everything that I know and then 10 times more about sports.
I don't know about that. No, I don't think so. But you got a lot in that head up there, and it's a pleasure to be with you. I thank you for having me on. It's a lot of fun, and thank you for doing this.
We'll do it again soon. And remember, give the GOAT my home number. We'll see if we can.
I'll put in the word.
Please.
Absolutely, we'll do that. Thank you, Adam.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, let me hit Butcher Box here. This episode is sponsored by Butcher Box. Great tasting meat you can feel good about. Delivered right to your doorstep. I do Butcher Box about every night. Olga makes up the steak. She makes up the burgers. She makes up, they got the heritage breed pork, delicious grass-fed, free-range organic chicken. I mean, it's all so good. Great seafood now. Average cost less than $6 per meal. Box and delivery options to fit your needs. You can cancel anytime, no penalty. 5 boxes, 4 curated box options, and the popular custom box, so you get exactly what you need and what your family will love. It's Butcher Box, right, Dawson?
For a limited time, new members get a free Thanksgiving turkey when you sign up at ButcherBox.com by going to ButcherBox.com/Adam. That's ButcherBox.com/Adam to get a free turkey in your first order.
And Geico. Do you rent? Do you own? Well, you do one or the other. Let's make this easy. Bundle your policies at Geico. That's Geico.com. Makes it easy for you to bundle your renter's insurance along with your auto policy. Good thing, too, because you have so much to think about already. So save some time. Go to Geico.com, get a quote, see just how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit Geico.com today. All right, West Palm Beach coming out to the Improv November 20th through the 21st, and we're doing a bunch of shows there. So come on out and say hi. Burbank, Pickwick Bowl, doing a bunch of shows there. Got my YouTube page, youtube.com/Adam Carolla. Enjoy that. Until next time, this is Adam for Bald and Jim and Gina saying mahalo.